try and win championships, and that's what it's all about. When you look from the outside and you watch this team, I know we're going to have a real good, solid hockey team this year.
Welcome back to Fireside Rangers. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, joined by my co-host, Eric Wilson. Today, we're going to be discussing the New York Rangers defense and the struggles that they've experienced through the beginning portion of the 2022-23 NHL season. Now, the Rangers started their season off with a big win over the Tampa Bay Lightning, but since then, a lot of losing, a lot of overtime losing, and just some really all-around poor performances from the defense. So we're going to go ahead and discuss the defense, what they can do to improve, and kind of just touch on the struggles that they've faced throughout the beginning portion of the season so far. But before we dive into all of that, Eric, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing good. It's a shame I can't be with you today, even though you're just down the hall. I'll come give you a hug when we're done. But yeah.
Well, I greatly look forward to that. And I also greatly look forward to the Rangers playing again tonight at 5 p.m. Super excited for that. And of course, recaps will be coming right here on Fireside Rangers, so make sure to subscribe. But let's go ahead and talk about the defense. Now, Eric, we've talked about the defense, touched on it here and there in the previous episodes. And we've kind of mentioned how there's really just one player who stood out and played well, in our opinion, and that's Adam Fox. He's got 10 points on the year already, and he's looked like a stud. But everyone else has struggled, and some of them have struggled immensely. But before we dive into all of the, struggles of the defense, let's at least touch on Adam Fox and discuss how he's played well. So, Eric, what are your thoughts on Adam Fox's performances through the first portion of the season?
He's been great. As you mentioned, he's like literally the only defenseman on the Rangers right now who we're impressed with their play. Like you said, he has 10 points. It's third on the whole team. So, he's doing better than a lot of the offensive guys too. And he's also one of only two defensemen on the team right now who don't have a negative plus minus. He's playing great defensively. He's contributing on the offense as well, helping them out. He's a big quarterback on the power play. And I can only say good things about him so far this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and talk about someone that I know you don't have a lot of good things to say about, right? And that is Jacob Trouba. Now, you've been openly critical about him in our previous episodes. Jacob Trouba with 3 points on the year. With a plus minus of -1. That's the captain of the New York Rangers, and he provides a lot to the dressing room, of course. He's a great figure to have in the locker room wearing that C. But so far, his performance through these first 12 games has been a little rocky, kind of shaky. So, Eric, how do you feel about Jacob Trouba through these first 12 games?
It's really frustrating because, I love Trouba. I think he's a great guy. He's a great captain so far from what we've seen, in the locker room, even on the ice. He's laying out bodies, fighting people, defending the rest of his teammates. But then you look at his actual hockey play, it's just not very good. Last game, tough loss. 2 of the goals that we let in were practically Jacob Trouba's fault, and it's frustrating to see for such a great captain and a great guy to not be playing up to his standards, really. And, plus minus of -1, not very good, but also not the worst on the team. There are worse, but I don't know what it is with him right now so far this season. He's not playing to how he should be.
Yeah, so what do you think Jacob Trouba needs to do to improve? Like, which areas of his game in particular are you disappointed in, right? He's not playing to how well he should be playing. So how does he get to playing to that level?
Well, typically Jacob Trouba, he's pretty good on offense as well. He usually puts up a decent amount of points and contributes with that as well. So far, he's only put up 3 points this season. But, that isn't his main goal as a defender. But he can improve on that. I think mainly he needs to be smarter with the puck. Whenever he has the puck, he looks like he makes a decision too quickly. He doesn't take his time. And it usually comes back to bite us. That's a lot was what happened last game when he cost us those 2 goals. I think he just made poor decisions with the puck.
Yeah, and let's go ahead and talk about Adam Fox's line pairing, right? Ryan Lindgren, because this is another player like Trouba who you've kind of been critical of in the past. So you've mentioned, and I think we've both agreed that at times Lindgren does look a little bit inactive. He kind of disappears from the game for a little while on the season. His stats, 2 points through these 12 games, plus minus of 0. Again, not the worst, but again, he's playing alongside Fox. So what are your thoughts on Lindgren? Do you feel like he's still been disappearing from some games, or do you feel like he's been more impactful than some of these other guys?
Yeah, he's definitely more impactful than a couple of players, but he's definitely not playing that good right now. And I'm happy you mentioned the fact that he does play with Fox because his stats are pretty much inflated by that. I think if you were playing with any other defenseman on our team right now, his plus minus would be very far into the negatives and not at the even zero that we see because of Fox. And it's like it's frustrating to watch Lindgren play this season because he was a huge part of our playoff run last year. We wouldn't have made it as far as we did without Lindgren. He was pretty much like the heart and soul of the defense throughout that. So just to see him come in and really just look non-existent on the ice, like he's not even playing, it is really frustrating. And I know I keep saying that word a lot this episode, but that perfectly encompasses how this the defense is making me feel.
Yeah, the defense is making us feel frustrated. It's been frustrating to watch. Let's go ahead with the second defensive pairing. We talked about Trouba. Let's talk about Keandre Miller. Now, I'm actually not as far down on Keandre Miller as you might be. I think that he's provided some solid performances here and there. His plus minus, his -2, his points. He does have 3 points. And, he's not dominating. He's not playing that great. He's playing alongside Jacob Trouba. But of that pairing, I think that Keandre Miller has put in more valuable playing time and ice time so far this season. But I'm curious to know, what are your thoughts on Keandre Miller?
I think it's pretty much the opposite of Ryan Lindgren, of like how his stats are being inflated by Fox. I really think that Miller is being brought down by Trouba. I don't really have much to complain about with Trouba's game. He's more of an offensive defenseman. He's putting in the work offensively. I think he has a little bit of power play time going on so far this season. But defensively, he's just been average. He hasn't done anything spectacular, not as good as he was last season. But there's also not much to really complain about. He's just kind of doing his job. Nothing great, nothing too bad. Could be better, though.
Yeah, for sure. And now I want to talk about, the final defensive pairing of Zach Jones and Braden Schneider. Now, this is the one that's really gotten the Rangers in trouble, in my opinion. I think that this third defensive pairing has been very subpar, real lackluster. Zach Jones not playing as well as we expected him to. Great summer. We heard a lot of great things. We thought that he was going to step into the season, put together a solid performance. But so far, it's been a lot of struggling from him. And same with Braden Schneider, another player who looks non-existent on the ice at times. So, Eric, what are your thoughts on that final pairing? And how can the Rangers maybe maximize these guys' talent levels and get them to start playing better?
Yeah, I mean, I agree that this is definitely the worst defensive pairing that we have going on right now, which is really strange because Jones and Schneider looked really well together throughout training camp and preseason. And then the regular season came around, everything just kind of fell apart. And I definitely think that out of the two, Zach Jones is more of a problem than Schneider. It's because you look at these last couple of games. I think the main problem with Jones is that he's too small. He doesn't weigh that much. He's not that tall, and he kind of just gets thrown around by these other teams with these bigger-bodied forwards. So I can't really complain too much about Schneider right now, but something does need to change, and I don't really know what that would be. I don't know if that entails sending Zach Jones down and calling someone up, because I don't really want to have to put someone like Trouba or Miller down on the third defensive pairing. But at the rate we're going right now, whenever we have that third defensive pairing out on the ice, I do feel like a goal is about to be scored. I'm kind of losing faith in them, and something definitely needs to change.
Yeah, it feels like the ice that the Rangers are skating on gets thinner when we're down to that third defensive pairing. It feels like we're on thin ice, and any second there's going to be a goal. So I definitely agree with your sentiment. That third defensive pairing does give me somewhat of nightmares. It really does give me some angst when they're out there on the ice. But I want to tie this all together and discuss Igor Shesterkin, who I believe is still playing at a very high level. I think he's playing great this season. I just feel like he's not getting a lot of help from his defense. So that's really the main focus of this episode. The New York Rangers defense continuing to struggle to start the season, and it's costing them games, and it's costing Igor Shesterkin, who's letting in a lot more goals than you would expect him to let in through these first 12 games. But I feel like with Igor, he's still putting in some elite performances, like top of the world performances from the net. But the defense is not having the same caliber of play put out onto the ice. And I feel like that's ultimately why the Rangers are losing these games. That's why Shesterkin's letting in X amount of goals per game. And I don't know. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on Igor Shesterkin's performance and how the defense has either helped or hurt him. And in my opinion, has definitely hurt him this season.
Oh, yeah. I mean, definitely. It's hard to play goalie when you just got a bunch of cones standing in front of you, not playing defense, But despite that, just to talk about Igor for a second, his stats still have been really good, Obviously, nothing as crazy as last season. We knew that was going to happen. Last season was like a miracle, once in a lifetime thing to witness. But Igor only has one regulation loss. I'm pretty sure he's 6-1-2 right now, and that one loss came from that last game where he played all right. Nothing too crazy, nothing too bad. But Igor is still playing really good. Once the defense really steps it up and gets back into the swing of things, back in their groove, I think his stature is going to keep going up. So, yeah, it's definitely a contributing factor to the way that Igor plays, and it's not been a good one.
Yeah, and not a good contributing factor. And it's something that we talked about throughout the offseason. We were discussing how Igor Shesterkin's going to have a great year again. We believe that, coming off of the Vezina Trophy winning season, we believe another great season was in store for Igor Shesterkin. However, he needs some help because there were a lot of times last year, particularly in the end of those playoffs, in the Eastern Conference Finals, where we saw the defense kind of implode. We saw a real lack of depth, on the offensive side of the puck as well. Just a lack of depth, people getting tired, and then ultimately too many shots getting put up against Igor Shesterkin, causing him to concede a goal here and there, causing the Rangers to lose. So this is something that we've discussed, and we kind of saw this coming. But Eric, how do they prevent this from continuing, right? So Igor Shesterkin, as great as he is, you don't want to rely on him to save 50-plus goals or shots per game, right? So what can the Rangers do to kind of mitigate that number, prevent Igor Shesterkin from facing so many shots, and get this defense playing on the right track?
I think they just need to play more of a conservative style of hockey. Stop doing too many crazy things with the puck. Don't make any bad decisions. Just stick to the basics, get the puck up to the offense, and then just be ready for when the other team comes to take it up. Don't try to be like a hero or anything. Just do your job, play normally, nothing too crazy, and everything will just slowly work itself out.
No more hero hockey, no more hero playing. We're not the Avengers out here. We're the New York Rangers. So let's go ahead and play like some gritty New York Rangers. But without further ado, that pretty much wraps things up. We'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions down below in the comment section on the New York Rangers defense, on Igor Shesterkin, everything in between. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this episode. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and ring the bell so you don't miss an episode. And we'll catch you on the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Rangers.
As promised. Peace out.
He shoots. He scores. He scores. Rangers.